Hi, and welcome to the Johnny Random Show. We are in partnership with Biz Coach TN, our training and consulting company, where we do coaching for small businesses. We do a little segment every week, and so this is one of those today. These come from articles that are posted on our blog on our website, bizcoachtn.com. And today's topic, go ahead, take it away, Dad.
How to make suggestions at work. I ended up writing this down and sharing this in a lot of the training that I've done over the years because I have, worked in management and I've gone out onto the floor and somebody walks up to me and says, we should do this or that or that. But there's a lot of great ideas out there and we don't make enough of them. And part of it is because the suggestion really is in a form that's really helpful. I walk on the floor, somebody makes a suggestion. There's a whirlwind going on in my life as far as things, and I might be on my way to talk to somebody or do something. All of a sudden, they're there, and you can't ignore them. And they say something, and you want to be respectful and listen and that type of thing, but your mind is really somewhere else. And so, what I started doing, which I thought was a great idea, but it's not enough, is I would, write it down. I'd make myself a note, put it in my phone or a piece of paper or something, because I know by the time I get to where I'm going, take care of what I'm doing, get back into my office, the conversation never happened at that point. It's gone completely. And so I started telling people, you need to write it down. Help me, by writing it down. Put together a template when somebody has an idea. Says, come on up and get one of these, sheets of making suggestions, a formal suggestion, and not just the suggestion box, but give them kind of a template. What's the current situation? What's the problem? Where is it occurring? When is it occurring? Can you quantify it? How big a problem is this? How, is there a price that we can put on it? What do you know? What do you don't know? What do we need to seek out? How can we test this? And begin asking those kinds of questions. Ask them, how can things be improved? And you want to get them to be, specific about a proposed solution. We want to put this piece here that guides this, whatever, and we can get it made, over here in the shop. Here's a drawing and these are the dimensions of what we need, or what would the cost be? And does the cost less than what the problem is? And so what are the benefits? And here's part of the problem too, is that, and this is kind of a reality check. Sometimes things are bothersome to us, but the company, as far as the cost to fix it, you being bothered, it's not important enough to them. That's kind of being cynical, isn't it? Your problem's not big enough for the company to really care about. So you have to make it where, not you have to make it, but you should point out what the actual cost is and how big a problem it is over a period of time. Or, you can live with it. It's going to be part of your job. And then too, one thing I was thinking about this today, which I hadn't really thought about before too, is that you still need to own that project. Just because you wrote it on a piece of paper and you gave it to them, they don't really own that yet. Yeah. Unless they say they own it. Unless they say, yes, we will work on this, whatever. So you work on it, you get people that understand the problem also to give their input so that it's not just you. If there's other people that this affects, that have some insight into it, and that also if you change something may impact them, you want to get somebody else's input because you don't want to put this change in and then the next guy down the lane, so his job suddenly changes or her job changes. So you need to have that team base, and then you own it. You're going to follow up on it. You're going to find out what is their response. And if the response is just verbal, you want to say, listen, I want to write this down, make sure that I understand it. Write down what their answer is. And you're saying, okay, we can't do this because of this, this, and this, or you have this concern. you still own that with that reply until you can prove that it's, worthwhile or costly enough, or come up with a solution that works with them. So you continue to own it. The moment you hand it off to them doesn't mean that you don't own it, because it probably won't get owned unless you follow up on it. And again, that sounds kind of cynical. Sometimes it is. It'd be great if every time you had a great idea, somebody, would take ownership of it. Anyways, you have to make suggestions, make it concrete, make it where it makes dollars and cents to them to put forth the effort, to put forth the money, to make the change that makes that problem go away or less formidable.
I have a couple anecdotes or funny stories, and kind of in this vein that I was thinking of when you were talking. I one time had a employee, when I was managing, kind of, and she said, I have an idea about how we could do such and such and such, and we should do XYZ. And I said, whoa, that's great. Hey, can you write an email to me and send that to me so I can think about it and find a way to implement it? And just on the surface, it sounded like a great idea. And I was like, that's great. Okay, cool. I get my inbox like later that day, and it's literally an email that basically rephrased. No, didn't even rephrase, said exactly the same thing that that person had said to me earlier in the day. And I was like, that doesn't help me at all. And so I kind of like, this makes me think or realize why suggestion boxes don't work, because suggestion boxes typically come with, I have this problem, it's very specific, and it's like you said, it may be the big thing to you, but to the company, it's not a priority at all. And so what I thought about too, from like a managerial perspective, sometimes we do see what the problem is, but like you said, that it's not a big enough thing to fix it, or you just have a lot on your plate and you don't know how. And so my suggestion for a suggestion box would have like a fill out, describe the problem, describe the solution, right? But also be detailed in, what do you think the obstacles would be, and how do you think those could be achieved, or accounted for, and what would be the expected outcome. So that way you're giving somebody the opportunity to do the whole exercise, go through the process, because they may get to the end of that suggestion, just rip it up. Like, yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? Like, we fixed one problem, we created three more, it's just not worth it, whatever. And so by going through that process, they have realized they have come to the same place you have by just making it a template for them to fill out. So that's how I would say that is, if you give them something to fill it out, and then that gives you kind of a map, and then that way, you can just be like, oh, okay, this is a great idea, this is a lot of work, you do it, or I'm going to find the project manager, or I'm going to do it. That's great. It's your suggestion, whatever. But you also have that documentation and you've thought through it enough. Because there's some suggestions where it's like people come up with suggestions all day long and they haven't thought through. And so I think that's a really good idea to write it down. But I think giving some parameters on what to write down and some things to think about is also really, really helpful for both you as the manager and for the person.
And you want data. I mean, you want somebody to turn in a check sheet that says this has happened this many times this day, and this is what amount of time it took to correct those things. And the suggestion about understanding what happens down line is, one place I worked at, somebody made a decision to change the process of how they do things, to fix something, make it better, right? Well, it meant that it got down the line later, and thus it couldn't be shipped that day.
Right.
Somebody was looking for their product on a certain day, and we just screwed it up because we didn't understand the whole big picture of what's happening. There's those kind of considerations. Who does this affect? What are they looking for? What's their expectations? Have you talked to that individual? All of those types of things are, are important. Yeah, a lot of great ideas out there that never get implemented. There's some tremendous stories about somebody who had an idea on the floor, somebody comes up with Post-it notes or whatever. There's lots of stories of great ideas out there just because they had a process in the organization of how to get those through the system and away from the whirlwind of just all the activities going on. Here's this, one idea trying to make its way through the organization to be done. You want to give it the best chance that it can.
Right. Exactly. The best chance. And those are great suggestions. 4 suggestions.